What if I told you that some of the most successful technology companies in history were launched when they were broken, incomplete, or even outright embarrassing? What if the first version of Dropbox was just a video faking the entire product? What if the first version of the multi-billion-dollar shoe retailer Zappos was just one man, running to a local mall to buy shoes after an order came in? And what if the first version of Airbnb was just 3 air mattresses on the floor of a San Francisco apartment? This goes against every instinct. We're taught to polish, perfect, and prepare for a flawless debut. But in the high-stakes world of startups, the pursuit of perfection is a death sentence. The real secret to building something revolutionary is to launch something that's just barely good enough. This isn't a story about cutting corners. It's the story of a radical strategy that turned business logic on its head. A strategy that prioritizes speed over polish and learning over earning. It's known as the minimum viable product. The MVP. For decades, the standard playbook for launching a business was to spend years in secret, burning through cash, building what you believed was the perfect product. Then, you would reveal it to the world in a big bang launch, and pray that your assumptions were correct. Most of the time, they were not. The MVP philosophy argues that this is insane. It proposes a counterintuitive idea: build the smallest, simplest, most basic version of your product that can deliver a sliver of value to a user. And then, release it. So how did this philosophy of launching something just good enough become the undisputed blueprint for modern innovation? And how does it separate the startups that succeed from the ones that spectacularly fail? That is the secret we are unlocking today. To understand the genius of the MVP, we first have to understand the old way of doing things. The model that was responsible for countless corporate graveyards. It was called the Waterfall Model. Imagine building a product is like building a house. In the Waterfall Model, you would spend months, or even years, on the architectural blueprints. Every room, every window, every electrical outlet is planned in meticulous detail. Then, a construction crew spends another year building the foundation, framing the walls, and adding the roof, all according to that rigid plan. Only when the entire house is finished do you finally invite the homeowner inside to see it. This is how most software and products were built for decades. Long, detailed planning phases, followed by long, isolated development cycles. The problem is, what if the homeowner walks in and says, "Actually, I wanted the kitchen to face the sunrise"? It's too late. The foundation is poured. The walls are up. The cost to change anything is astronomical. This was the fate of countless startups. They spent millions of dollars and years of their lives building a product based on a single, unproven assumption, that they knew what the customer wanted. By the time they launched and discovered their core assumption was wrong, they had no time or money left to fix it. This is the #1 reason startups fail. Not because of bad engineering, but because they built a perfect solution to a problem nobody has. The MVP was created as the antidote to this disease. The idea was popularized in 2011 by Eric Ries in his groundbreaking book, The Lean Startup. He argued that a startup's primary goal isn't to build a product. Its primary goal is to learn what product to build. And the fastest way to learn is to put anything, in front of a real customer as quickly as possible. Let's look at how this works in the real world. Our first case is Dropbox. In 2007, a student at MIT named Drew Houston was constantly frustrated. He kept forgetting his USB drive and couldn't access his files between his desktop and his laptop. He had an idea for a service that would seamlessly sync files across all your devices, making them accessible from anywhere. The problem? Building this was incredibly difficult. It required complex code to work on different operating systems, handle network issues, and be completely reliable. It would take a team of elite engineers over a year to build even a basic version. How could he possibly prove that people wanted this, before he spent a fortune trying to build it? He decided to run an experiment. He created a simple, 3-minute video. The video showed a computer screen. Drew's voice narrated how frustrating file management was, and then he began to demonstrate his solution. He dragged files into a folder on one computer, and they magically appeared in the same folder on another. He showed how photos on his phone were instantly available on his desktop. It looked like magic. But it was an illusion. The software didn't exist. It was a carefully edited screen recording, simulating the final product. The video itself was the minimum viable product. He posted this video to Hacker News, a popular online forum for tech enthusiasts, with a simple headline, "My Y Combinator app, Dropbox, throw away your USB drive." The response was electric. Overnight, the waiting list for the beta version exploded from 5,000 to 75,000 people. With one simple video, Drew Houston had done what years of development could not guarantee. He had validated his core hypothesis. He proved that the pain he felt was shared by tens of thousands of other people, and they desperately wanted his solution. The video wasn't a product. It was a question. And the answer was a resounding yes. Our second case study attacked an even bigger, more unproven assumption. In 1999, Nick Swinmurn wanted to test a wild idea, that people would be willing to buy shoes online. At the time, this was considered absurd. Shoes are a tactile product. You have to try them on. The conventional wisdom was that e-commerce was for books and CDs, not for footwear. Swinmurn knew that building a traditional online store would mean raising millions of dollars to buy inventory and rent a massive warehouse. It was a huge gamble on an unproven concept. So, he decided to fake it. He created a simple website called shoesity.com. Then he went to his local mall, walked into a shoe store, and started taking pictures of their inventory. He went home, uploaded the photos to his website, and listed them for sale. When an order came in, his process was simple. He would go back to the shoe store, buy the shoes at full retail price, go home, box them up, and mail them to the customer himself. He was losing money on every sale. But he was gaining something infinitely more valuable: data. The website was the MVP. It was a simple storefront, with a human frantically running around behind the curtain, pretending to be a sophisticated logistics operation. This is what's known as a wizard of ounce MVP. It proved, with almost no financial risk, that his fundamental assumption was correct. People would, in fact, buy shoes online. That validated learning gave him the proof he needed to secure investment, build a real inventory system, and grow the company into the retail giant we now know as Zappos, which Amazon would later acquire for $1.2 billion. Our final case study shows how an MVP can validate a market that no one even knew existed. In 2007, two roommates in San Francisco, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, were struggling to pay their rent. A major industrial design conference was coming to town, and they noticed all the hotels were sold out. They had an idea. They owned 3 air mattresses. What if they rented them out on their living room floor to designers attending the conference? They built a simple website with the name Air Bed and Breakfast. They posted pictures of their apartment, the air mattresses, and promised a home-cooked breakfast. They charged $80 per night. They got 3 paying guests: a 30-year-old man from India, a 35-year-old woman from Boston, and a 45-year-old father of 4 from Utah. The simple website was the MVP. Their own apartment was the product. This single transaction was not a scalable business model. But it was a priceless piece of validated learning. It proved that people were willing to pay to sleep in a stranger's home. It was the first, critical data point that would eventually lead them to build the global hospitality empire we know today as Airbnb. The common thread in all these stories is a powerful feedback loop. Eric Ries calls it build, measure, learn. First, you build the smallest possible thing to test your biggest assumption. A video, a simple website, a single feature. Second, you measure how real customers react. Do they sign up? Do they use the feature? Do they pay? Third, you learn from that data. Was your assumption right or wrong? Based on what you learn, you either persevere and build the next small feature, or you pivot and change your strategy. This loop turns the process of building a business from a gamble into a science. And that is the secret. The minimum viable product is not actually about the product at all. It's about the viable. The purpose of an MVP is not to create a smaller version of your final product. Its purpose is to be a scientific instrument. A tool designed for one thing and one thing only, to get validated learning in the cheapest and fastest way possible. The question isn't, what is the minimum product we can build? The question is, what is the smallest experiment we can run to test our most critical hypothesis? Sometimes that experiment is a piece of software. Sometimes it's a video. Sometimes it's a photograph of a shoe. The MVP isn't the first version of your product. It's the first step in a long conversation with your customers. It's your way of asking, am I on the right track, before you spend years running in the wrong direction. The real product of an MVP is not the thing you build. It's the truth you uncover. The MVP strategy has fundamentally reshaped the landscape of business and technology. It's the antidote to the build it and they will come fallacy that has destroyed so many companies. It forces founders to confront the most uncomfortable truths about their ideas, early and often. The profound lesson here is that in business, the greatest risk isn't building the product incorrectly. The greatest risk is building the wrong product perfectly. The MVP is more than just a startup tactic. It's a philosophy. It's a commitment to humility. A recognition that your initial assumptions are probably wrong, and that the only way to find the right path is to take the first step, listen to the feedback, and adjust your course. It's the realization that true innovation doesn't happen in a secret lab. It happens in the real world, in conversation with the people you hope to serve. If you learn something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?